Hey everybody, it's Ben. I'm a camera guy and filmmaker from upstate New York. Very happy to show off my new setup. I'm no longer shooting on my cell phone. I have an actual camera to stream on now, which is very exciting. I have to remember to look here because the lens is a lot lower than where I usually have it. I usually have it on top of the monitor. Today, the topic is going to be starter cameras, specifically the Red, and why you should or should not use it. The main point is going to be, is the Red camera a good camera? No, it's not. But we're going to get a little bit more in depth into what exactly is going on with the Red. Why is it so sought after, especially by the indie film community? And should you get one? No, but should you get one? So let's put the information out and let's see how it compares to other cameras on the market, what even is going on with Red, and why it is such an overrated camera, in my opinion, and the opinions of many others. So Red got its big start in the indie scene way back in early 2000s, probably even before that. Red was a cinema camera that was considered consumer grade. The price was a little bit lower than the millions of dollars you would pay for, say, an IMAX camera or a true film camera back, like a 35mm camera back in the day. Red was a digital camera with a really impressive sensor on it, really powerful set of different presets and LUTs and ND filters and everything in the kitchen sink you could possibly need. But it was still like reasonably unknown until, and I still remember because I was around when this happened, it suddenly exploded in popularity in the indie scene because it was the camera that was used to shoot Pitbull's first music video. And I was going to show some clips here, but I keep getting hit with like weird copyright things when I do that. So go look up Kulo. That's the first music video that he ever produced. He was staying in, I want to say Puerto Rico. That might be wrong, but I think he was staying in Puerto Rico. And one of his friends said, well, hey, while you're here, why don't I make you a music video? And so they shot on Red, I believe Scarlet or possibly Dragon. One of the more knowledgeable people will certainly say in the comments. But one of the Red cameras was used to shoot it. And from that point forward, Red really locked onto that as a marketing gimmick. So whenever people would say, hey, what's the deal with Red? Somebody inevitably would say, oh, wow, that's that really nice camera that they used for Pitbull's music video. It's a really crazy camera. At which point the average indie filmmaker would say, oh, well, that camera's pretty affordable. And it was used to shoot a really high-end music video for a legendary musician. I'm a Pitbull fan, because you can tell. But once you actually go and watch the music video, you'll quickly see something rather peculiar, and that is that the quality is not good. In fact, it's what I would call bad. And the reason for this is the camera wasn't a good camera. The sensor did beat out a number of other like independent ones. We're talking, this is back in like the JVC camera, like the DV camera era, where you'd slot your little cassettes in, you'd get audio sometimes if you were lucky. Everything was on like giant tapes or discs or even floppies. There wasn't any quality, especially at an independent level. We had the $100 camera level, and then we had the $1 million camera level, and there really wasn't anything, so to speak, in the middle. So for independent filmmakers, having something accessible like a Red, and by the way, the Red price tag even back then was something like $50,000. Like that, it was half a house back in the day. But it was affordable enough that the average indie filmmaker, it caught their eye, especially if that filmmaker had wealthy parents to buy them nice things. So people would grab onto this camera just off of marketing alone, and boy did Red market the heck out of their camera. I was also one of the people caught up in the Red hype back in the day. I really wanted to get a hold of one, and eventually, through networking and different things, I was able to actually hold in my hands a Red Scarlet. I believe it was a Red Scarlet, it might have been a Red Dragon. I get these two confused fairly often. If you look up the tech specs, they're fairly similar, but I believe it was a Red Scarlet. So I was over the moon. I was like, this is going to launch my career. I know I'm only, I'm basically renting it for the day. But it was so kind of my friend to let me use it. So I took her camera and I went out and I shot extensive footage. I pushed the ISO up and down. I played with the shutter speed. I tried all the different things. This one was not slow motion capable, but back then 60 FPS was considered slow-mo. So this camera had 60 FPS, so I was trying this all out. I took it home, I put it into the editor I was using, and immediately I was like, what is going on? Did I make a mistake? Because the footage, especially the low light, was so grainy and noisy. It was almost unusable. We were shooting in an overcast day. I didn't use any set lights. You know, I'm a photographer. I'm used to just adjusting things for natural lighting. I didn't realize that most cinema cameras are built with the assumption that you will have a massive studio full of lighting, projecting a ton of light down on your subject. Now, that's not how most of us do it today. It's certainly not how digital cameras work today. But back in the day, that was the Hollywood standard. You were just expected to overlight your scene. So when I was using this camera, I didn't know any of this. So of course everything came out very dark, very grainy. I actually still have that footage on my computer as a constant reminder whenever I feel tempted to buy a red to not get a red, because it hasn't improved over the years. The dynamic range isn't great, especially for a camera where you're putting that much money into it. Nowadays we have like the Blackmagic Pocket 6K, which has better low light capabilities, and it only costs, I think, about $1,600, if I remember right, for a used one. The used reds are still in the range of $8,000, $9,000, and they're obsolete technology. I cannot stress, they won't do anything you want them to do, but they have this reputation, and they really, really pummel you with this marketing that says, we are the best, we're used on everything. So buy us. Don't get this, don't get that. You know, if you want to be successful as a filmmaker, you must get a red. The actual must-get camera these days is the Arri. Arri has a phenomenal dynamic range beyond anything you will ever see. To break down what dynamic range does for people that kind of get tired of me just doing the nerd thing where I say like these terms that don't mean anything. Dynamic range is how much light it can capture from the darkest to the brightest. What that means is if you're shooting in an indoor room, but then you're also looking out of a window. The inside of the room is very dark. The outside is very bright because the sky is very bright. The higher the dynamic range, the more color and the more detail you will see outside, and the more color and detail you will see in the shadow inside. So it is critically important for those high dynamic range looking, the beautiful color spectrum look to your film, you must have the good dynamic range. It's not an option, it's not optional, it's very important. This can be improved also by things like ND filters, dual native ISO. These are terms you probably hear a lot, but you might not know what they mean. They are critical to getting the best picture you can possibly get. Critical. Red drops a ball on every single one of those. I cannot stress enough. Like, there are more modern reds that do a better job, but now we're looking at $150,000 for a camera that does the same thing as my favorite camera, which is the Kinefinity series, the Terra 4K, the Terra 6K. Nobody knows about the 6K. Everybody remembers the Mavo. The Terra Mavo. The Kinefinity Mavo, I apologize. Kinefinity, if you're watching this, please forgive me. I do love your equipment. You are my favorite camera. I'm sorry I get the terms wrong all the time. Please sponsor me. But yeah, so to bring it back around, red does the same thing as a Blackmagic Ursa would do. Sometimes worse even. But don't just take my word for it. Linus Tech Tips, who I know is a computer guy, like, what is he doing in the film world? Well, he took apart a red to find out, what exactly is going on with like all the parts in it, because it shouldn't be $50,000. Like, with the parts they put in it, it's a very inexpensive sensor, inexpensive camera cards. What's going on? I think I'll try to link his video in the description of this one. But the bottom line was, and I'll pick one specific example, there was a single cable on this camera. It was a power adapter cable. Red, to replace this camera cable, was charging $1,000. The cable was also available on Amazon for $5 to $15, without the red branding on it, mind you. The exact same cable. When you take out the SD cards, the same exact thing. In fact, Red actually got sued for claiming their cards were proprietary, claiming that they had built these unique cards that only the Red used, and marketing them as such, false advertising, because it turned out those cards really were just generic SDs that they had printed their name on and then marked up $3,000, which is insane. They were actively, and they still are actively, scamming independent filmmakers that either have more money than they know what to do with or just don't know. I was on a film forum on Facebook fairly recently, and I saw a filmmaker that had kind of been taken for a ride by the Red camera brand. He had sold all of his equipment, all of his lighting, all of his cameras, everything he had to buy a Red camera many generations old, just because he believed the brand hype that this Red was going to take him to the next level of where he wanted to be. And because of that, he got scammed. He has this useless camera now with no lens, no cards, nothing. They're going to cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars more to even get operational for a bad picture. whereas he could have spent only $1,700 for a brand new Blackmagic. Now, I'm not a fan of Blackmagic, and I know I'm actually going to get in hot water for this one because a number of my friends are sponsored by Blackmagic. I just tell you what the truth is for your picture. All I care about is giving you guys a good picture. Blackmagic is the cheapest bang for your buck if you are just looking for an inexpensive camera to get an okay picture, and if you have the lighting necessary to compensate for its just horrendous low light capabilities. You're perfectly fine buying one of these. It's a great starter camera that you will almost immediately want to purchase something else, but it will get you that initial first step. So what is shot on red? Why do people crow over red? Well, not much. And that's where it really gets crazy. If you look up like what modern movies have been shot on red, there's basically nothing. I think there was something called like Hillbilly Massacre or Hillbilly with a Shotgun, something like that. Hobo with a Shotgun. That's what it's called. Hobo with a Shotgun. That was back in 2010. That was when this camera was popular. It was 18 years ago. Now it's just kind of seen for what it really is. It's just bloated garbage that nobody can use. The picture quality also is not great. It is too blue. The midtones are baked into the blue spectrum. So for you colorists, for you color nerds out there, that's a hurdle you have to step over. And I've been told when I brought this up, and when I bring this up with like the overgreen spectrum in the Blackmagic series, I'm just told, well, just grade for it. No, why don't you give me a camera that will do what I want it to do so that I don't have to fix all this stuff in post? The Arri does all that, by the way. The Arri is by and large the best camera you could possibly get your hands on. The Arri Alexa Mini will put you at a level where you'll be able to pretty much immediately make content at a level for Netflix. By the way, sidebar, you can't get your film on Netflix anymore. It is 100% curated. So if somebody's telling you this camera will push you to Netflix, they're lying to you because you can't actually get to Netflix, but you can get to HBO. And so an Arri Alexa will definitely give you the quality necessary for either really good film festivals or HBO or Tubi or other mid-level distributors for film. So what is the deal with red? It's an overpriced piece of garbage. I don't know any other way to put it. I know I'm directly slandering them. I'm directly going out there and saying this camera is terrible. Why would you buy it? But I wanted to make sure to present you with a couple other options. If you're feeling the red hype, Blackmagic Pocket 4K or Pocket 6K even does better than a red. You don't need to save your pennies. If you have a lot of money, if you're one of those trust fund babies that we all hope to be, where you have all this money to throw at your film productions, get an Arri Mini. Alexa specifically. It will do everything you need it to do. You're going to be putting a lot of money into lenses, but it will do everything you need to do. You will love it. And if you are somebody who just likes the middle of the road, really good dynamic range, beautiful low light, the best low light I've seen on a camera, by the way, pick up one of the Kinefinity line cameras. They are not very well known in the US, but they have the same sensor as a red camera, except they've actually calibrated it correctly, unlike red. Guys, come on. And that sensor you can with the newer ones, you can get all the way up to 8K footage. The dynamic range is 12 full stops, proper stops, and one more tech spec for you nerds. It has dual native ISO, which means you can shoot at 3200 with no noise. Actually, no noise, by the way. I know that Blackmagic says that 32 is a native. It isn't. You'll get so much noise in your low lights. The Kinefinity line gets no noise in the low lights at 3200 because it is truly native 32. You can shoot, and this is the TLDR for people who don't care about the nerd stuff, you can shoot in moonlight. You can shoot in campfire light with no noise in the darkness. Okay. And before you say, oh, well, you're exaggerating, we filmed the shot, and I don't think I have it on my computer because it's part of an unreleased film that I'm not allowed to show you. But we shot with an actual lighter, just underneath the actor's chin here, shining up on their face. And it was enough to fully illuminate the face with no noise on the Terra 4K, which is the camera that I use extensively. That camera is an immense powerhouse. The only disadvantage is that the film bitrate is lower than the normal standard bitrate required by, say, HBO. So if you're using it, you aren't at a level where Netflix or HBO will accept the footage without you reshooting it. But for a tech demo or for a festival, it is perfect. So again, hey, Kinefinity, sponsor me. I love your stuff, please. I don't have the money to buy it, but I would absolutely love to showcase anything you want to send me. It is the best camera. I have shot everything I've done, including the Viking films. You can see down on my channel a little bit further down with this camera. It is mind-boggling how powerful it is. And the price, by the way, if you were to buy one brand new, it's about $4,000. Put that up against the $50,000 to $80,000 for a RED camera, where you will get half the quality, but a lot more brand efficiency on it. Brand doesn't sell like it used to, I'm sorry. And if people are really pushing it brand, first of all, they probably don't know what they're talking about, so you can just call the Terra or your Blackmagic a RED, and they won't know the difference because consumers are consumers. But regardless of what you're looking to do, there is no world in which you should be selling everything you have to pick up a RED camera, because REDs are no longer the in thing. They don't get you the picture you want, and they won't get your clients or customers the picture that they want. There is no reason in 2025 to buy a RED camera. So I know this is kind of an anti-review. I really try to not come down as hard on equipment providers, things like that, unless I really mean it. But frankly, I wouldn't accept a sponsorship from RED even if they had offered me one, just because I really don't like their camera. I can't get good picture off of it. We can go on and on about, user error, blah, 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 just like your scene's better. Or I could just, use the Terra that I've got, and I don't have to light my scene and still get a beautiful picture. Much more organic, to be honest. But that's just my style. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Feel free to leave me feedback. If you're a RED user and you're like, no, you missed all this and this and this, please feel free to put that in the comments. I don't respond to the typical troll comments where it's like, oh, well, you're just wrong because you're stupid. I'm not going to answer that. But if you have something meaningful to add to the discussion, if you know something that I overlooked or ways that I could better calibrate the RED, or just an excuse for why a RED is $16,000, $80,000 for the same sensor I can get for $6K in my Terra, please put that into the discussion. And if you've never heard of the Terra, definitely go and check it out. If you've never heard of Kinefinity line in general, go check them out. They are miles better than Blackmagic. The cost is a little bit higher, but it's worth every dollar. Actually worth every dollar. And if you can get an Arri camera, you're set for life, my guy. Go out there, make some cool films, and remember, I'm just a random guy on the internet offering advice. Please don't purchase something just because I said so. Go do your research, go do your homework, make something cool, and I'll see you in the festivals. Catch you guys later. Peace.